Hi, everyone. As promised, I launch a week of conversations around block prints, which I'm calling Artists Block. And kicking off this week with me is Meeta Mastani, who is the proprietor of Bindas Unlimited and somebody who is a bold and a very, very different and innovative uh, voice, if I may say so, in the block printing space. And of course, a dear friend in real life. So, welcome, Meeta, to this conversation.
Thank you, Shweta Shri. I'm really happy to be here and very honored that you chose to start with me and feature me in this feature.
Thank you, Meeta. So, Meeta, you've worked at the intersection of craft techniques, art design, and social development for over 25 years. And I think over this period of time, I wouldn't be wrong to say that you've carved a space for yourself because of your very signature block print style, something that is visible in my sari, in your sari, and those beautiful backdrops today. So I think I'd like to begin because this is about identifying signature style. So I'd like to begin by asking you what you see as the signature elements of a Bindas Unlimited or a Meeta Mastani, style footprint.
And humor plays one part of it. A lot of my prints, when people see or when I see also, the idea is that you look at it and you smile. It's something which inspires me a lot, humor, and I like it in my work. Technique, of course. I work only in natural handprints and mostly with mud resist and natural printing colors as well. The images that you see in my prints are images that I see around me. So I started working on my prints in 1993 with a group of friends. And at the time, there wasn't like now, there is a confidence in Indian design, in things that we see way beyond the regular auto rickshaw type of things that we see. But at the time, there wasn't this confidence. The idea was at the time was to normalize prints, normalize images of in the form of prints of things that we see around us, which are not inspired from overseas. Because at the time, a lot of design was either completely traditional, uh, made by the artisans, cultural markers of communities. So if you saw somebody wearing a particular print, you knew which community they came from. If you knew a little more, then you'd know that even the village that made it, because there was an informal copyright system. Each village had a certain kind of maybe 2 or 3 different prints, and they only printed those prints. And the neighboring village didn't print the prints of that particular village, which is why I'm saying there was an informal copyright system. So either there were these traditional prints or mostly there were prints from overseas. As you know, India is known for its export of textiles, and a large part of that is printing. Many of the designs came from overseas, and we here kind of executed it for them and sent them out. So the idea was to have prints which are of relevance to us, long story short. So that is another element in the prints that I continue to work on.
If I can say that, there's another layer to it for me, which is, I think, bold and brave in itself. And I can imagine how difficult it must have been at the time when you started out. And that is to not obey the rules of structure. And I think that is something that, your prints are known for, the irreverence, not just in the motifs or the humor, like you said, but even irreverence in following rules like perfection, right?
Yeah.
So your prints are not the kind of prints people will reach out for if they're looking for a perfect Mughal miniature type block print at all.
Absolutely.
Right? So how hard was it to convince people that this was viable in a garment or whatever else? I mean, I can imagine today when there are takers and a market, but how hard was it leading up to here?
I've been very lucky. I made stuff that I loved and enjoyed myself. My work has grown slowly. It has grown over a lot many years. And I've come to it from the the perspective of the maker. I'm very clear that's what I work. The designs are very important, but they have to work for the maker themselves. So the area I work in works in Madras. The area I work in does not have fabulously skilled printers. So the idea was, what can we make which looks beautiful? It may not look traditional. And one way it was to upgrade the skill, but then you have a small bank of printers that you work with, and you can't work with the others in the village. So coming from the perspective of the maker, the way the structure of the prints also has developed from that. Coming from not working, most people work on high-end textiles because that's where the money is. You of course make more when you make a silk sari than if you work on a cotton sari. So I work on fabrics like cotton, I work on t-shirts, and a t-shirt is a structured garment, it's already made, and then the design is put on it. So that vocabulary has translated into the textiles, it has translated into the saris, into the stoles, and I do some of it on silks as well. But it's a it's for somebody who is very sure of their likes. It's for, they are bold, like you said, and the wearer, the person using it, needs to be bold as well. If they are conventional and they want it to look pretty, like most hand printed fabric will look, or saris, it's not going to look conventional. There's no way it's going to look like that.
So moving on to the community, because I think the community and the story that the community brings to the whole process of printing is a very important part of who you are and what you do. So, I mean, for you, even collaborations aren't really traditional collaborations, so to speak, in the sense that, two people who bring two aspects of a designing and printing or designing and execution process come together, work together, and make a finished product and walk away. That's not what a collaboration means to you. So tell us a little bit about how you see collaboration and how you really collaborate with the people in the villages that you work with, like Aladera, etc.
Right. So I collaborate with a lot of different people. One is the artisan, one are the designers who sometimes design the blocks themselves. Um, and of course, there are different ways of collaborating with both of them because the worlds are different. But by and large, the idea is that we all learn from each other and you respect the other one's skill and where they are coming from. So I, I learned the technique. I have learned the technique from the printers that I work with. They have learned something else from me. So it's always a process of both parties learning from each other. It's not, that's an important part of the collaborative process. Innovation is an important part of the collaborative process for me. Not only do we learn from each other, but we move a step forward. Both of us move a step forward. Trust is a big part of the collaborative process for me. Transparency. So all of these things are important to me. And there are a lot of people who work with artisans, and it's almost like a proprietary thing that they will only work with me and I will not tell the buyer who they are. That's not how I choose to work. It is it's easy enough to figure out where I'm doing my printing. The people I work with, they know where I'm selling. We know each other's prices. There's a lot of, like I said, trust is a big part of the process and really important for all of us.
So this, the community of people that you work with, so has it been the same community? Have you worked with the same set of people over the years? Have you expanded the footprint? Is it, how does your, your social connect work?
Right. Yes, I work with the same people since '93. I work with people in Rajasthan and in Kutch. And I do more of my work in Rajasthan than I do in Kutch. And the people I work with in Rajasthan are Chaubundi. They're in a village called Kaladera, which was off the map before we started working there. It was a small village which kind of took over the excess work of Bagru and Jaipur, and they were not known to be, they were not known in most circles, and now they are well known. And as for increasing the footprint, yes, now there are a lot more printers um, who work with this family that I work with over the years. Also, initially in this village, they were mostly doing orders for printer for companies which did export orders. They were paid very little, and they just executed designs for other people. Today, so many years later, there are so many printers in the village who are producing for the Indian market, who are working on more expensive fabrics and therefore making more money, getting a better income from that. And a lot more people who are working in this. A lot of the children, the young people, do not necessarily want to be in this field of work. They don't want to do printing. But there are people from outside the village now, specifically from Uttar Pradesh, who are working with a lot of these printing units in this village.
You do a lot of overseas collaborations as well and teaching. So have you trained formally in this? And also, like, what do you teach or what do you train students in these?
Right. I jumped in. I was an artist in residence at UW-Madison in the US about 5 years back. And my residency consisted of a 4-month, like a whole semester at the college, at the university. And I jumped right in. I didn't have training as a teacher as such, but it was so much fun because I had students from all different kinds of backgrounds, from engineering, from the arts, from business, and it was a hands-on course. So I basically teach studio work. I teach block printing and natural dyeing. And there's always an element which, so for instance, in this residency that I did the residency consisted of the students had to make a print, which they then made a block of. They printed that block in natural colors and they dyed it in natural colors. And the print had to be a political print. So for that, we went through the whole process of what is political, what was political for them. And it was so interesting for me. There were many students whose grandparents and parents were farmers, and for them that was a political statement to be from a farming family. There was the politics of hair. I mean, we just covered all kinds of really interesting things. And we collaborated with a dance troupe in the college, a dance company, and they used some of the textiles that I make here in India as part of their dance, and they did draping as part of that dance. So by the end of it, they had that fabric draped around their bodies by the end of the dance performance. And the music consisted of printers printing in Kala Dera, the sound of them printing with old Hindi film songs, and all the students' artist statements as spoken word. So it was just very, very fun. So the idea is it can be different kinds of teaching. It could be just a straight off, you make a block and you, if it's a longer teaching, then you make the actual device with which you print. We've done it in different places. I've done it through a 3D printer, through you do it yourself. You carve a block or you use ready-made blocks and it's natural dyeing and hand printing. So it's usually studio work with some cultural background and a connection to wherever we are doing the actual printing.
So do you know how to carve a block like by hand yourself as well?
I have done, yes, I have. I'm not as skilled as the block makers that I work with here, but yes, of course, I've done it. And also, sometimes people choose to work on the soft linoleum. That's much easier. It's really buttery and easy to work with. So if you have good tools, it's very possible to do it.
Okay, so it's interesting because what you're saying really is that your block print cannot be seen as a silo because it's an intersection of politics, of art, yes, of the various elements that come together that inspire you. And that then becomes the signature, which is therefore almost hard to imitate, because you can take one print and imitate that, but you
Yes.
can't imitate a signature. And that is what then ends up setting someone apart in a market that is quite overcrowded from the, others. But you've always been about natural dyes, handlooms, hand-woven fabrics, sustainability, long before these became buzzwords. So, and yet you collaborate with a whole bunch of different people in different parts of the world. So how do you ensure that the core values that you hold dear are upheld, are passed on to the people that work with you? And, how do you sort of audit or ensure that everyone who's working with you imbues those values?
So I choose the people I work with very carefully. I'm very particular. They're people who have similar values to mine. One is the cultural aspect and the thought that's gone into it. Another is the actual group of people that I've started working with. The artisans who were ready to innovate and work on natural dye. It's a lot more work to work on block printing and natural dyeing than it is to do screen printing and chemical. Far easier to do that. But I like this process. I love the way it looks. I love the way the colors play with each other and intermix. It's almost impossible to do a bad combination. I do not want the variety of 10,000 colors. I like the limitation, and I like working within those limitations and making it look different. To me, each piece that I do looks different because we combine it in ways, that's what excites me in the process. I'm going to tell you something very crazy. Every bolt of fabric that I made about 8 years back, 6-meter length, was different from the other, because for me, changing the design, changing the color, changing the way it was laid out was what made it fun for me. So it was a lot more work. So I'm just saying that I like variety, and that works. I have worked in collaboration with people who retail, people who do part of the design, people who do part of the production. So it's also been a team and a group of people working together. So you're talking about a signature style, and I think that has evolved from a combination of the people who've done it, from the reason behind doing it. The reason is not just sales. It represents something that has meaning for me. It represents something that I see and which makes me think. The idea is to bring those thoughts. It's not just a sari that you're wearing, for instance. There is the image of the two protagonists in Pyasa, the film. And that means, that holds meaning for me. It holds meaning for the person who designed the block, Sutanu Panigrahi. All these reasons together bring about a signature. And they keep changing because that's what excites me. If your work and the images you make have meaning for you, you are bound to develop your own signature. If you're consistent, you show up, you do it over and over again, the style emerges.
And when you develop a signature of that nature, then that signature, that ethos is always hard to copy. So ultimately, the confidence lies in being able to evolve something that is authentic and something that holds meaning to you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Meeta. Everybody, that was famous last words from Meeta Mastani of Bindas Unlimited. Thank you.
Thank you.